And that right there, that is one of the most gratifying things about what we do now. Yeah. Is that this gap that we talked about earlier, this little gap between, like, how do you read something? You read something, and then how do you get that thing out of it? How do you extract that vital piece of information that's in there? How do you do that? How do you tell? It's like when you're a kid and you don't listen to your parents, right? You just, how do you close that gap? And what's awesome about what we do now is that we get to close that gap with people. I see it on a daily basis. On a daily basis with the leaders that we work with, you get to see their eyes open up and you go, boom, they get it now. Everything we just talked about, which we had to learn over time and extrapolate from our experiences, and then on top of that, go through horrible situations where we failed as leaders, and we've figured out a way to say, look, here it is. Here's how it works. And to see people's eyes open up, and then to see the performance. Yeah. That's the best. To see the performance go through the roof as the leader. And then, of course, when the leader starts doing well, then the leaders start doing well. And when all the leaders start doing well, guess what? Now we have a winning team.
Yeah. To emphasize what you said, that eyes opening, that's a literal thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a metaphor. You look at them, and when you finally get it to click, their eyes actually open up, and they sit up straight, and they kind of sit back a little bit, and there is a moment, a physical moment, where you recognize that they got it.
Yep.
And when you see that, and you can actually see that in an audience when you're talking to a group, like maybe multiple leaders on a team, and you're around a conference table and you're interacting, and you bring up a particular example that they're dealing with. You lay out the different possible scenarios, and the one that is obviously the right one, and they go, oh my God. When they get that feeling is unbelievable. Yep. It's the best part about this is when they get it, but you literally see that happen.
Yeah.
And that is awesome.
And that's that for me. So my last 3 years when I was in the teams and I was running the training for the West Coast SEAL teams, and I got to see that. I got to see that with these young leaders, and I remember, it's in my head right now. I got to tell the story. There's a young kid who I know who's an awesome guy, and I didn't really know him that well at the time, but he was kind of like a pipe hitter in a platoon. And there's total mayhem going on, total chaos going on, and I just like go over to him, and like his platoon commander was simulated dead, and blah 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 blah. And the platoon chief was simulated dead, and the LPO wasn't making a call, and it's total chaos, man. And I walk over to him, and I'm like, "Hey, man," and he's like, "Yeah," and I go, "Hey, man, bro, are you gonna do something about this right here?" And that was all he needed to hear. All he needed to hear was like that guy that was in charge of all this training was telling me, like, was asking me a question. He was questioning me and saying, "Are you going to do something about this?" His eyes opened up and he said, "Oh, hell yes, I am." Yeah. And boom, he stepped up, started making calls, and the whole paradigm in the situation completely changed because he stepped up and led. And so I got to see that then, and I get to see it now. So that's a cool thing.
Yeah, it is.